Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Office Lovers. We are on Sadayoshi Saijo's route. Well, actually, we finished his route and we're doing his sequel, the epilogue, My Caged Princess, which, trust me, it's not a Toma situation, it's just a figurative thing. He has proved himself not to be a Toma, so don't worry. Let's see just how this goes, and let me prove to you that he is not a Toma. He is a sweetheart. So, you can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. Months passed since we became a couple. Since we were in different departments, the rule against dating didn't apply anymore. Not everyone in the company knew about us, but everyone we worked with did. Mr. Saijo used that as an excuse to do embarrassing things from time to time. I loved him, so I couldn't hate him for it, but I'd have preferred him not to act like that in front of other people. Though no matter how much I told him that, he never listened.
What's with you? Staring off into nowhere.
Nothing. I was just thinking. It was just the two of us in the meeting room. Again. You know what that means. The situation was ripe for him to go wild and crazy, but he didn't for one reason. Tomorrow, we would be giving a presentation about the new project plan. Why is that stopping him? Since we would be talking to the CEO, Mr. Saijo was behaving better than usual today.
That covers the bases. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
The process was explained at this point, so I'd like to point out our plan A on the right here.
Not a bad idea. It would drive our point home.
I also think we should bring up the color development and the potential candidates.
If you want to do that, it might be better to use plan B instead.
Alright. Our work on the presentation went smoothly as usual. We were so in tune with each other when we worked. Knowing that made me happy.
Shall we do a test run with all the changes in?
Sure. I closed the curtains, bringing the room into darkness. My heart started to beat faster. With Mr. Saijo in work mode, I didn't have to worry about him, but it happened on reflex. I glanced at him while getting prepared. His dignified face was bathed in light from the computer screen. It seemed I was the only one who was thinking about things other than work. I wouldn't bet on that. I couldn't help but think he looked so cool when he was concentrating, though he always looked cool.
What's wrong?
Nothing. I couldn't believe how I was acting right now. I turned back to work and tried to concentrate. When our rehearsal finished a few hours later, we returned to the office.
You've become a lot more bold lately. You used to be so shy and timid. I used to worry about you all the time during presentations.
Yeah, thanks. I've been practicing presentations at home, too. I picked up some good software that's supposed to help a good deal.
That's great. I'm proud.
He put his hand on my head and stroked my hair. I heard somewhere that women calm down when someone did that. It seems to be working. I like it when they do that. In my case, it was super effective since it was Mr. Saijo doing it.
Did you fall asleep? Your eyes are closed.
Sorry.
I'm glad we can relax a little like this, but it's a shame we're at work.
Yeah. I walked back to my desk with a slight blush on my face. He was right. We were at work and had things to do. We still had to get over some changes that we made and double-check them.
I know we just looked at it, but page 3 still seems a little bit hard to understand to me.
I agree. Splitting it into paragraphs might work. I'll break them apart right here.
Okay. I still think it needs a little bit more explanation, though.
You mean the spot where we had trouble on during rehearsal? I'll fix that.
Thanks.
I spent quite a while making the final changes. When I finally finished, it was already late. It took longer than I expected. I carried the papers to his desk so he could look at them. A few minutes later...
It looks good. No problems.
He smiled at me. Great, thanks.
All that's left to do is knock it out tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm so nervous though.
Don't worry, I'll be with you. We'll be just fine.
His words were exactly the same thing that I had said to myself after being picked for the team. It wasn't a coincidence. It almost felt like fate. I nodded firmly at him. Tomorrow would go well. It had to. The next day, we were in Mr. Otori's office. Though Mr. Saijo was present most of it, there were still parts where I had to speak. Practicing at home helped, but there were still parts where I needed Mr. Saijo's help. Otherwise, it went pretty well, and we finished without a hitch.
That's good. You did well. Thank you.
I listened to their conversation while opening the curtains.
Good job, Dirili. These documents were easy to understand and will help when we go promote.
Huh? I don't deserve the credit. I was only following Mr. Saijo's advice.
Oh, I don't think so. I know what you can do. I've seen the files you sent to Mr. Hyoga.
Are you talking about the ones from before the project started?
The marketing papers. I've seen those too.
What? When I wrote that, I had no idea it would be passed around the company for everyone to see. There's papers at the very beginning of the game. Everyone saw them. I'm sorry for making those without permission.
Don't be. They were good. I even heard they were pretty helpful, right? Of course.
Thank you.
You should take more pride in your work. When you two are done cleaning, come over here.
We cleaned up the projector and walked over to Mr. Otori. He was still looking at the papers. I felt nervous just waiting there.
I would like to give your proposal some more thought before I decide anything. Good work.
Hearing the good news, Mr. Saijo and I exchanged smiles.
I know you didn't have much time to prepare, but the presentation was excellent. I'm very proud of you two.
When he started putting the papers away, I could finally relax.
That's enough about work right now, so relax. Shall we talk about Dirili now, Mr. Saijo?
What? Why are you talking about me? What was there to talk about? Had I done something wrong?
In other words, what? Come now, you know what I mean.
Though Mr. Otori was smiling, Mr. Saijo had a dubious look on his face. So even he's been surprised by this. I had no idea what was going on, so I just waited and listened. Apparently, Mr. Otori had more things he wanted to talk to us about. Of all things, it was something about me. I was clueless, but even Mr. Saijo looked like he had no idea what was going on.
It sure is hard to believe.
Mr. Otori stood up straighter. It made us even more nervous.
That is, how cute you've become lately. Huh?
What? He looked at me with a wide smile.
For the longest time, you were marketing's own little plain girl who never wore makeup.
I was shocked when he called me plain. Is that what they thought of me? I had no idea.
Mr. Otori. No, don't get me wrong. I meant it in a good way. A good way, trust me.
How can plain be in a good way?
Mr. Otori. As in simple, I mean natural. The natural kind of beauty thing. I see. I just wanted to point out that she looks lovely with makeup too.
Mr. Saijo? He was facing Mr. Otori with his back to me. I couldn't see his face. When I called his name, he turned around.
Yes?
With that smile, he was probably glaring at Mr. Otori, and then he turns around for me and smiles. When I saw his big smile, I relaxed. For some reason, it felt like he was surrounded by a cold aura just before. Maybe it was just my imagination. It was my thanks Mr. Saijo told me my potential.
I guess it's true then. A girl in love becomes more beautiful.
No, that isn't what I meant. He showed me how to put on lipstick and all sorts of other things. I corrected myself, and Mr. Otori nodded at me with a huge smile. Mr. Saijo listened to us, looking a bit pleased but shy.
After listening to your presentation, I came up with an idea. I want to see what you think of it.
Yes? He suddenly switched back to talking about work, making us scramble for our notes.
How would you like to work on a makeup for a mini-book? Me? Yes. It would come with a mini-book novelty gift. We don't have enough novelty items. And I think you possess the knowledge to help women change themselves.
Wearing a big smile, he explained his idea to Mr. Saijo. I think it would be a great idea. If you can change someone like me, you could change any girl.
If you say so, I can't refuse.
You should do it, for sure. As Mr. Otori told us more, we took notes in our notebooks. And I'm imagining I'm going to be part of this too. Working on a novelty item sounded like a lot of fun.
I had no idea something like this would happen. Thanks for the opportunity. It's our company's duty to change as many women's lives as we can, for the better.
I couldn't agree with them more.
See? I'm not all that bad after all.
You never seemed like it. I always thought you were a wonderful person.
Same here. You two are very kind.
Mr. Otori looked at Mr. Saijo with a serious face.
You changed one woman's life, and now go change the rest. I will.
He firmly nodded to Mr. Otori. It seemed to me Mr. Otori trusted him more than ever.
That girl is the most beautiful in the company. She looks good in makeup and has wonderful style. I completely agree, but I'd like to know something. Yes, what?
Mr. Saijo looked straight at Mr. Otori.
What do you mean by style?
Mr. Saijo's face looked terrifying. Even Mr. Otori was taken back. I rushed to jump in between them. Mr. Saijo's face was getting scarier by the moment. Temper. I jumped in between them to try to settle them down.
What's wrong?
He gently pushed me aside and stood in front of me again. Sorry for interrupting, but...
Don't be sorry. You're part of this team too. Right, Mr. Otori? That's right. In our team of men, she's our one and only beautiful flower. Well spoken. She truly is like a flower. But what were you saying about her style? Would you care to elaborate?
I couldn't see his face, but I knew from his voice he was verging on anger.
It's nothing. She came to work wearing casual clothes before on the weekend. Yes?
Like usual, Mr. Otori talked with a big smile on his face. He seemed to be struggling this time. Really, he's actually making him nervous.
And so, one of the times she came in, I saw her. That's it. I just noticed how stylish she was when she came to work that time.
That's right. I've never seen Mr. Otori outside of the office.
I see. I'm sorry. I misunderstood what you meant.
When the subject of me came up, it only took one word to set him off.
You shaved some years off me with that look. I'm glad it was settled peacefully.
Otori and I could finally relax as Mr. Saijo was finally smiling again. He needs to take some anger management classes, I think.
You are right, though. She is very cute and charming. However, we are already lovers, so she is mine.
Ugh! I couldn't believe what he just said. My mouth hung open in disbelief.
Even if you are the CEO, I will not hand her over to you. So keep your hands off her.
He bowed deeply in front of Mr. Otori. All I could do was watch, still in shock. I had to have misheard that. There was no way he said that to Mr. Otori. I looked back and forth at each of their faces for an answer to my confusion. There was complete silence for a few seconds after Mr. Saijo said the unthinkable. It took me that long to snap out of my daze. I had to say something. Mr. Saijo, how could you say that to him? I don't care how...
Mr.
Otori was looking down at the ground when he made a strange sound. He must be furious. He looks confused. Mr. Saijo, don't just stand there. Apologize to him. Huh?
It's been so long since I had a good laugh.
He wiped away some tears and started laughing again. What was so funny?
You got some guts. I can't imagine anyone else saying that but you. I'm honored.
Don't be. How could you say something like that to him? Don't encourage that kind of behavior.
It's fine, really. As a man, I know where he's coming from.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what he's up against. He has the courage to stand up and fight. That kind of spirit is what we need more in this company. I admire it. Can I say something? Go ahead. It's because of you that we can move forward. You steer us in the right direction. Without you, we would be lost. I hope you'll be here to lead us a very long time. I will follow your lead the entire way. I follow you through the fires of hell. Kaido.
Did he mean to call him the wrong name? Or is Kaido here, or did he mean Saijo?
Mr. Otori.
The sunlight shone through the window, shining upon their faces. The two of them shook hands. I didn't quite understand how male bonding worked, but I imagined it was something like this. I was just relieved that nothing bad had happened. I let out a huge sigh of relief. After our presentation and talk with Mr. Otori, we returned to our separate work. When the work was over, we went home together as usual.
What have you been sighing about?
It's someone else's fault. I won't mention any names. Jeez. We walked together, going the exact opposite direction as my home. I would be staying at Mr. Saijo's today. It'll be the first time in a while. I felt sick when you told him about us.
There is no way he didn't know about us already. Everyone else does. Why hide it?
That's not what I mean.
What?
When you said to keep your hands off me and stuff.
Oh, that?
I grabbed my head in frustration. How could he think it wasn't a big deal?
Well, our position at work doesn't matter when talking about love. Besides...
He leaned towards me.
Do employees have to give their boss whatever they want, even if they don't want to?
Of course not. But you know Mr. Otori wouldn't do such a thing anyway.
It doesn't hurt to be cautious.
It made me all the more embarrassed when he said that with a straight face.
And just like you said, you become more beautiful. I was a little worried when I first met you, but...
What is that supposed to mean?
But you do shine best after a little work. Just like you said, you are a beautiful little flower. No, that's wrong. You're my beautiful little flower. What's wrong? You're all red.
It's nothing. I thought I would be used to hearing lines like that by now. I was wrong. I blushed from ear to ear. I tried my best to hide my face while walking with him toward his home. It was nighttime in the city. There weren't many people out anymore, and voices carried quite a ways.
But I'm still worried.
Huh? Why? I turned my face to look at him. What are you worried about? Oh, I want a guy to look at me like that again. I miss it. It wasn't often he was at a loss for words. He looked at me with a solemn face.
It isn't easy for me to say, but I'll try.
Okay. After a few moments of silence, he muttered the same words again.
I'm worried.
Yeah?
When I think you're running off with some other guy, I get worried.
Why would you ever think that? That will never happen.
Don't you think I'm too arrogant?
He looked at me with a worried smile. I wouldn't say arrogant. You're just confident in what you do.
Maybe, but I'm not as confident as you and everyone else thinks.
Really?
Especially my confidence as a man. I just don't know if I have what it takes to keep you at my side.
Don't say things like that. His face looked pitiful, like he had given up. I didn't like to hear him talking like this. He squinted his eyes. At the same time, his smile disappeared.
You know what?
He grabbed both my shoulders and made me face him.
Sometimes, I think it would be better to lock you away. And that way, you couldn't run off with some other guy.
No, you're not Toma!
I want you to be mine forever.
Mr. Saijo! How about a tracking chip? I'll let you have a tracking chip. That's as far as I'll go. I put my arm around him and rubbed his back to soothe him. If you think that's what it'll take, so be it. I tightened my arm around him and held him close. I closed my eyes and held on to him until he was ready to speak again. Yeah, it's a different matter if you're willingly in a cage. Sometimes I think I wouldn't really mind so much. I mean, as long as it's a cage with all the amenities, you know? I have a toilet and everything. I wanted to stay like this forever. Only in his arms could I truly relax. If he locked me away in his arms together, I would never complain. He grabbed my shoulders again, so I opened my eyes and looked at him.
I would love to lock you away, but it's not right to keep an angel prisoner.
His words were odd, but I knew he was serious. I shook my head no. His love was genuine, and that alone made me happy. It's fine. Lock me away.
Don't say that. I can't do that to you.
Oh, good boy. After his shout, he kissed my lips with passion. When he finally let me go from the kiss, it looked like he was going to cry.
I'm jealous and greedy, even though someday I want to have kids with you. I don't want them to take away my time with you. I don't want to let anyone have you. I want to steal your freedom.
He kissed me between words. I had no chance to even speak. But it didn't matter what he said. My mind would never change. Instead of saying anything, I wrapped my arms around him instead. His lips broke from mine for a moment.
Do you want to have children?
He looked up at me with puppy dog eyes and asked in a tiny voice. It was like, "You look like a child." I think that kind of ruined the moment a little. Do you want to have children? Well, you kind of look like a child. You're the only one who loves me as much as you do. You're the only one who tries so hard to get my attention. Someday, I'd like to have children, but for now, I just want to spend every moment I can with you.
Dirili?
He grabbed me tight and kissed me so wildly I couldn't breathe.
So, if we buy a house together, can I lock you away there?
He asked shyly. He really did look like a child when he acted like that. I wrapped my arms around his neck and held him tight. On a dark road far from the nightlife and away from prying eyes, we hugged. Of course. He thought of me as his little flower. So,
thanks.
If it was what he wanted, I would blossom like a flower for him. Oh, that was cute. And that was way longer than I expected, so yeah, that's gonna have to be its own video, and so will the date scenario. So tune back in for the next episode, which will be the date scenario. I'm all screwed up with loading times because the first night I recorded the second night, I recorded 7 episodes, and I could only edit and upload 4 because, I don't know, YouTube was uploading really, really slow, or maybe it was my computer, I don't know. One of my computers might be going up on me, which I really don't want to happen. It's too much of a pain in the butt to deal with. I hate computers. Alright, well anyway, tune in the next episode to see the date scenario. Hope to see you there or in some of my other videos, and I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye bye everybody.